At dawn, a young man stands outside a house that has never truly been his. His partner remains with her mother, her sisters, and the child they are raising. He has eaten here, worked here, and slept here, yet his own mother lives elsewhere. If this family follows the mother's line, his children may belong to her people. But does that mean the women rule the house, the land, and every decision? A burial can reveal ancestry, but it cannot record who won an argument at supper. This is the trap hidden inside one of prehistory's most viral questions. Were prehistoric families organized around women, or are we projecting a fantasy? That discipline becomes crucial at a site called Fujia in eastern China. Fujia belonged to a late Neolithic farming world near the lower Yellow River. Its cemeteries were used between 2750 and 2500 BCE, in the late Neolithic. Researchers recovered genome-wide data from 60 people buried at the site. 14 came from the northern cemetery and 46 from the southern one. Every analyzed person in the northern cemetery shared one maternal lineage. In the south, 44 of 46 shared a different maternal lineage. The paternal lines among males were far more diverse in both cemeteries. People were not sorted primarily by sex, age, or clearly visible social rank. Instead, burial affiliation followed the lineage into which each person was born. Adult men were buried with their own maternal clans, not beside their partners. That pattern continued for about 250 years, perhaps 10 or more generations. This was not one unusual mother surrounded by several close relatives. It was a durable community system organized around two maternal clans. For ancient DNA research, that is unusually strong evidence of matrilineality. Would you call Fujia matriarchal now, or wait for proof of female authority? Fujia shows how people belonged, but not who commanded the whole community. No genome can reveal who decided when to plant, trade, marry, or leave. A cemetery cannot replay the negotiations held inside a house after sunset. The women may have held strong authority, but that remains an interpretation. Men may also have held offices inside a society organized through mothers. Maternal descent could distribute obligations without creating female dominance. It may have answered practical questions about care, identity, and inheritance. Biological maternity is observable, but matrilineal systems can have many causes. But certainty of motherhood alone cannot explain every matrilineal system. Inheritance may follow women because land, houses, or work remain locally rooted. Descent, residence, inheritance, and authority can overlap, but are not identical. One tells us whose lineage a child belongs to after entering the world. Another tells us who moves away after forming a new adult partnership. A third concerns property, names, ritual roles, or rights passed across generations. The last asks the hardest question of all: who had the power to say no? A matrilineal family traces descent through mothers and their maternal relatives. A matrilocal pattern means partners often live near the woman's natal family. A matrifocal household centers daily life around a mother and her dependents. Matriarchy makes a much stronger claim: women hold dominant social authority. Evidence for one of these patterns does not automatically prove the others. A daughter can inherit a lineage while an uncle controls important decisions. A husband can move into his wife's community without losing influence or status. A woman can remain near her mother while property still passes through men. Real kinship systems are often negotiated, layered, and full of exceptions. That complexity matters because archaeology rarely preserves the rules themselves. Researchers recover bodies, buildings, diets, movement, tools, and genetic links. They do not recover spoken titles, private arguments, or household instructions. A skeleton does not announce its family name, but its genome can preserve kinship. Mitochondrial DNA usually passes from mothers to each of their children. Only daughters normally pass that mitochondrial line into the next generation. The Y chromosome follows a different path, usually from fathers to sons. When maternal lines cluster and paternal lines vary, researchers notice a pattern. But genes alone cannot tell whether that pattern came from custom or coincidence. Burial location adds another layer: who was placed beside whom, and for how long. Isotopes in teeth may indicate whether a person grew up locally or elsewhere. The strongest claims appear when genetics, place, time, and material evidence agree. Even then, scientists should describe the pattern before naming the politics. Or because sisters cooperate in childcare, food processing, and household defense. Another possibility is that maternal clans stabilized marriage within a small region. Fujia's living population may have numbered only 200 to 400 people. Genetic evidence suggests endogamy within the broader community, not close incest. The system may have balanced local belonging with rules against very close unions. Imagine daily life in a household where daughters remain near their mothers. Knowledge of stored grain, water, births, illness, and neighbors stays concentrated. A new husband enters a network that already understands how to cooperate. He brings labor, skills, alliances, and perhaps duties to another maternal clan. If the partnership ends, the child may remain within the mother's support network. That continuity could reduce the danger created by losing one adult provider. It could also create tension between a man's natal family and his partner's home. Whose field receives his labor, and whose children receive his stored food? Who supports him after injury, conflict, separation, or a partner's death? Matrilineality solves certain problems while creating new negotiations. It does not erase competition among sisters, brothers, spouses, or generations. Nor does this arrangement guarantee that every woman holds equal influence. A mother's line may organize belonging without making the household harmonious. Would you rather remain with your birth family, or leave to join your partners? Another remarkable pattern appears at Çatalhöyük in the heart of Anatolia. People lived there in tightly packed houses during the Neolithic period. Many dead were buried beneath the floors of the buildings where people lived. For decades, researchers debated whether those burials represented biological families. New ancient DNA has reconstructed changing kinship across the settlement's history. In earlier phases, maternal relatives were more strongly connected to buildings. Female offspring remained connected to buildings far more often than male offspring. That burial pattern does not directly prove that adult men left the settlement. That resembles a female-centered pattern of long-term household continuity. But the pattern changed as the settlement grew and social life transformed. Later burials were less often close biological relatives of one another. This suggests household membership could become social, not merely genetic. A house may have remembered shared practice, ritual, or identity as much as ancestry. Çatalhöyük warns us that kinship systems can change within one long-lived community. Prehistory was never one frozen family rule followed for thousands of years. If daughters stayed, women may have carried deep knowledge of each household. They may have known exactly where ancestors rested beneath floors and walls. They may have coordinated food processing, childcare, repair, and hospitality. That practical centrality could produce influence without formal office. But influence inside a house is not identical to political power outside it. Archaeology rarely reveals who spoke first during a tense community meeting. It cannot measure whose anger carried more risk or whose refusal ended a plan. Nor can continuity through one house prove that husbands lacked authority. The same evidence may fit cooperation, negotiation, or divided spheres of power. One person may control grain, another hunting routes, another ritual knowledge. Now travel much further back, to Neanderthals living in southern Siberia. Ancient DNA from Chagyrskaya revealed one Neanderthal father and his daughter. It also revealed a very small community with limited genetic diversity. Their Y chromosomes were less diverse than their mitochondrial lineages. The best-fitting models suggest that many women moved between communities. That pattern is closer to female dispersal than female-centered residence. In other words, not every prehistoric society kept daughters near their mothers. Some groups may have linked communities through women who left their birth homes. Others may have moved men, women, or whole families depending on conditions. Population size, danger, resources, and alliance needs could alter the balance. The Chagyrskaya sample is small and comes from one unusually isolated region. It cannot define every Neanderthal community across space, climate, and time. But it destroys the idea that prehistory had one universal family system. Human and Neanderthal communities were flexible because survival demanded it. The family rule that works in one valley may fail completely in another. Matrilineal descent can organize ordinary households, but sometimes it carries rank. At Pueblo Bonito in Chaco Canyon, researchers examined an elite burial crypt. 9 people in that burial chamber shared one identical mitochondrial genome. Nuclear DNA revealed mother-daughter and grandmother-grandson relationships. That maternal line persisted in the elite crypt for roughly 3 centuries. Here, Descent through women was directly connected to an elite burial context. That does not prove women personally ruled the wider political world of Chaco. It does show that high status could be transmitted through a maternal line. A man's prestige could derive from his mother, sister, or maternal grandmother. Power inherited through women may still be exercised publicly by individual men. This is another reason the word matriarchy often hides more than it reveals. Descent answers where legitimacy comes from, but not always who uses it. A woman may transmit status without controlling every political decision. A man may lead while still owing his position to the clan of his mother. If status passed through women but men led, would you call that matriarchy? Mobile foragers can leave a camp, but farmers invest labor in fixed places. A house rebuilt across generations can anchor identity to the people who remain. If daughters stay, houses and stores may pass through their relationships. If sons remain instead, the same logic may support a stable paternal line. Neither residence pattern follows automatically from human biology alone. Ecology, warfare, labor, marriage alliances, and wealth can change the system. Where land is scarce, remaining near inherited fields may carry unusual value. Where movement is essential, rigid residence rules may become dangerously costly. Food storage can also increase conflict over ownership and succession. The idea of an ancient age ruled by women has attracted people for generations. It offers a dramatic mirror image of later male-dominated political systems. Female figurines and powerful goddesses are often presented as direct proof. But an image of a woman does not identify the sex of political leaders. A goddess can be worshipped inside a society where men hold formal authority. A burial rich in ornaments does not automatically reveal government structure. Suppose a household traces belonging through women for 10 generations. The elder may control memory, burial knowledge, and access to family history. The parent may organize food, childcare, visitors, and sleeping space. A brother may represent the clan in negotiations with neighboring groups. A husband may contribute labor while keeping duties to his birth relatives. A skilled craftsperson may gain influence that cuts across every lineage. No single person needs to rule for the system to remain strongly maternal. Authority can emerge from control of knowledge, labor, ritual, or relationships. Some forms of influence become visible only when someone refuses cooperation. Others appear during crisis, when a trusted voice settles uncertainty. A society may be female-centered in daily life but mixed in public decisions. Or it may grant authority to certain women without empowering every woman. Class, age, ancestry, skill, and marital status can divide people of one sex. That is why the question "did women rule?" is too blunt for the evidence. A better question asks how women, men, and kin negotiated survival together. Ancient DNA gives biological relationships, not the full meaning of kinship. Adoption, friendship, fosterage, and ritual kin may leave no genetic signal. The people buried there may not represent everyone who lived in the settlement. Cremation, poor preservation, and excavation history can erase entire families. The people selected for burial may have held unusual status or identities. Isotopes estimate movement, but local geology can blur where someone grew up. Genetic sex does not reveal every lived gender role or social identity. A maternal lineage may be clear even when inheritance rules remain unknown. A residence pattern may be likely even when individual marriages are invisible. And power may be the least archaeologically visible part of the entire system. Return to the young man still standing outside his partner's maternal home. Inside, the elder wakes the child and sets warm grain beside the hearth. The parent checks the store while her sister repairs a worn woven basket. The traveler prepares to visit the people who raised him in another house. No one here needs to wear a crown for the mother's lineage to matter deeply. It determines where the child belongs and which ancestors surround the home. It may shape who stays, who leaves, who offers help, and who is remembered. But it still does not tell us who held the final word in every dispute. Fujia shows maternal clans enduring through 10 generations or perhaps more. Çatalhöyük shows daughters often maintaining early ties to family buildings. Chagyrskaya shows that other communities may have moved women instead. Together, they replace one simple story with a landscape of human choices. Some communities were clearly organized around maternal lines, not female rule. But women ruled reaches beyond what bones, buildings, and genomes can show. Which mattered most, maternal descent, living near mothers, shared power, or none.